Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're zeroing in on something absolutely critical for any organization. Leadership succession.
That's right.
Specifically, we're unpacking a framework designed to build real capability within your teams. The goal, creating capacity, not dependence.
Yeah, and it tackles a problem I think, well, everyone recognizes. You see these amazing organizations, often built by one visionary leader, and then that leader leaves and things just falter. Sometimes they even collapse entirely.
And it's usually not because there's no one capable waiting, is it?
Almost never. The real issue, time and again, is the process. Or, the lack of one. There's no clear, repeatable way they handle the transition. So the big question becomes, how do you actually hand over the reins? How do you pass that torch without the flames sputtering out? Or maybe worse, without creating a power vacuum that just burns things down?
That's the core tension, isn't it? That fear of letting go. But this framework we're diving into today, it offers a different path.
It really does.
It's called the Model Assist Watch Leave Framework. MAWL for short.
MAWL.
And the claim is, it can actually flip this whole succession thing on its head. Instead of being a risk you desperately try to minimize.
Which is the standard approach?
Exactly. It becomes a deliberate strategy, a way to actually multiply your impact.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is where it comes from. Its roots are actually in ancient discipleship methods.
Oh, okay.
Specifically, it mirrors the way Jesus prepared his followers. So it gives us this kind of blueprint that balances intense guidance, hands-on help, with a very clear strategic move towards complete release. It's designed for continuity, sure, but more than that, it fosters real ownership in the person taking over, maturity.
So to really get this, we need to understand the thinking behind it first.
Exactly. It starts with a fundamental belief about leadership itself. Is it about control, domination, or is it about something else? MAWL operates from the second view, leadership as delegated stewardship. The idea that authority isn't meant to be hoarded, but shared. Multiplied, even.
That's a big shift. Delegated stewardship. You mentioned Genesis earlier, God delegating to humanity.
Right, Genesis 1. That's the theological anchor. If the ultimate act of creation involved delegation, then handing over leadership isn't loss.
It's multiplication.
It's multiplication. It reframes the entire emotional landscape for the leader who's stepping back.
Okay, I see the reframe. But let's be honest, that's a huge psychological hurdle for someone who built something. Seeing handover as multiplication, not loss. How does MAWL help with that emotional side, the feeling of, losing control?
Well, it addresses it head on by focusing on something crucial. Formation before function.
Formation before function. What does that mean practically?
It means the priority isn't just what the successor does, it's who they're becoming.
Yeah.
Their character, their integrity, their internal grounding. You can't just hand over a checklist of tasks.
Right.
If the person isn't ready on the inside, well, giving them external power, capacity, can actually be dangerous.
Capacity without character is a liability.
Exactly. But the flip side is true too. Character without capacity, without the actual skills, that wastes a huge opportunity. They have to grow together.
So the process isn't just about transferring a job description, it's much deeper.
Much deeper. It's about transferring identity. The goal is that the successor eventually stands confidently in their own authority. They know, I am a leader shaped for this.
Okay.
And that shaping, anchored in, the framework talks about grace and accountability, it ensures they rely on the right power source. In the original context, the Spirit.
And in a secular context.
It means they build deep internal self-trust, operational confidence. They're not just looking over their shoulder for the mentor's approval all the time.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's get into the nuts and bolts then. The MAWL cycle itself. It starts with model.
Right, model. This stage is defined as visibility that forms identity.
Visibility that forms identity.
It means the mentor's whole life, not just their scheduled meetings or official duties, becomes the curriculum. How do they handle stress? How do they manage failure? Conflict, their time.
So it's about authenticity.
Authenticity and consistency. That's the real currency here. Radical consistency and transparency. Your life is the lesson plan.
That's powerful. I'm thinking of examples like, Jesus washing the disciples' feet, that kind of servant leadership model.
Exactly. That's a perfect picture.
Or in business, the CEO who sometimes pitches in on the lowest tasks to show respect, to model commitment. It's living it out. Paul said, follow my example as I follow Christ. It really demands that the mentor's life is Well worth imitating.
It absolutely does. Then comes stage 2.
Assist.
We define this as scaffolding skill and soul.
Scaffolding.
Yeah,
Like building support around them.
precisely. The successor moves from just watching, from shadowing, into actually doing. Shared ministry, shared tasks, they're actively involved. But crucially, the mentor is deliberately, consciously reducing their own hands-on involvement as the successor's competence grows. It's a gradual transfer of responsibility.
You said scaffolding skill and soul. Skill I get, teaching them how to do the job. But scaffolding the soul, what does that look like? Is it assigning readings?
Yeah.
Or something else?
It's more about coaching the internal response during the task. So let's say the successor has to handle a really difficult client meeting, or maybe even let someone go from the team.
High-pressure situations.
Exactly. If they handle it with grace, with humility, even under pressure that's scaffolding the soul in action, if they say, lose their temper or avoid the difficult conversation.
Then the assistance is about debriefing that.
Yes. Debriefing it, maybe focusing on repentance, repair, learning from the emotional or character failure, not just the procedural misstep. Think of Jesus sending out the 12 in Luke 9.
Right, he gave them authority.
Gave them authority, but they went out, they learned by doing, and crucially, they came back to debrief. They had that safety net.
Okay, so model's about showing. Assist is about doing with them. The next stage, watch, sounds difficult. For the mentor, anyway.
Oh, it absolutely is. For most leaders, this is the hardest part. Watch is defined as disciplined observation and bounded autonomy.
Disciplined observation. Bounded autonomy.
Meaning the mentor has to consciously step back, practice serious restraint. You let the successor take the lead, make the calls, knowing full well they will make mistakes.
Oof, that's tough.
It is, but you're present, maybe peripherally, observing. You're ready to step in, but only if a pre-agreed boundary or safety trigger is hit.
So you're giving permission to fail.
Yes, but crucially, within a defined safety net, it's not throwing them to the wolves.
I can see why this is hard. I think most experienced leaders were wired to jump in, right? To fix things, to optimize that 80% solution and make it 100%.
Absolutely. We want to rescue.
But if you intervene too quickly here, what's the damage?
The damage is you short-circuit their growth. You reinforce dependency. You subtly teach them that the real authority, the final decision, still rests with you, not with them.
So they never truly own it.
They never truly own it. They learn to wait for your correction or validation. Think of Moses watching Joshua develop. He had to let Joshua lead battles, make decisions, even when Moses was still around. He was peripheral, letting Joshua build that leadership muscle.
Okay, that visual helps.
Yeah.
Then finally, the last stage, leave.
Leave. The culmination. Intentional release and commissioning.
Intentional release.
This demands the mentor fully surrenders control, completely. It requires trusting the formation process, trusting the person, and in the original framework, trusting the Spirit's work in them. It's not a casual fade out. It's a conscious, sometimes difficult spiritual discipline of letting go.
Finality. It sounds like the Great Commission model again, Matthew 28. Jesus gives ultimate authority.
All authority has been given to me.
Right, and it immediately follows with the command to go, to make disciples, essentially empowering them to carry on the mission. It's not just handing over the current task, but the expectation they'll reproduce it.
Exactly. That they'll entrust it to others, as Paul says in 2 Timothy. It's about multiplication built into the very act of leaving.
Okay, framework understood. Model, assist, watch, leave. But you said this is an abstract theory. Let's get practical. How does this actually work day to day?
Right. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the practices for each stage.
Starting with modeling and practice, you mentioned transparent failure earlier. Why is showing your failures so important? Seems counterintuitive for a leader.
Because if you only model success, you create brittle leaders. People terrified of making mistakes because they've never seen you handle one constructively.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're transparent about a failure, maybe a decision you got wrong, or a relationship you had to mend, you teach vital skills. Courage, humility, repentance, repair. You give them a blueprint for how to recover when they inevitably fail.
Which they will.
Which every single leader will. They need to know recovery is possible and how to do it.
Makes sense. What about assisting in practice? You mentioned scaffolding.
Yeah, the key here is strategic scaffolding. Not just random tasks, but structured assignments that gradually increase in difficulty and responsibility.
Okay.
And the absolute core tool here, the engine of the assist phase, is the weekly coaching template.
A specific template.
Yes. It's a non-negotiable, structured 60-minute meeting every week. not just a casual chat over coffee.
So it replaces the vague mentor lunch.
Exactly. This session has clear sections. Typically, reviewing wins and losses from the past week, what went well, what didn't. Then, tackling a specific case study, a complex situation they faced that required real discernment.
Like a mini simulation debrief.
Precisely. And finally, a skills focuses section, where you deliberately teach or refine one specific competency. Maybe it's reading a budget. Maybe it's navigating a difficult conversation. Maybe it's strategic planning. Targeted skill building.
That sounds incredibly focused.
Yeah.
Then watching in practice. This is the letting go phase.
Where those safety nets we talked about become absolutely critical.
What do those look like, practically?
They have to be crystal clear, agreed upon in advance, not fuzzy guidelines. Things like, if the project goes over budget by X%, you must bring me in. Or, if a decision touches on these specific ethical boundaries, we talk before you act. Or even, here are the 3 people you call for specific types of emergencies before you call me.
So the successor knows exactly where the boundaries are.
Exactly. They know the limits of their autonomy at this stage. This prevents 2 problems. The departing leader subtly maintaining control by constantly hovering.
The micromanager ghost.
Right. And the opposite problem. The successor feeling completely abandoned and terrified the moment a small crisis hits because they have no idea when it's okay to ask for help. These clear agreements manage that tension between control and release.
Okay. And that leads us to leaving in practice. How do you ensure the leave is actually a leave and the old leader doesn't become, as you put it, the ghost in the machine?
Yeah, that's the biggest danger here. The leader leaves the org chart but hangs around, subtly influencing things, maybe through old relationships, maybe passive-aggressively, maybe just by being emotionally needy.
Undermining the successor, even unintentionally.
Often unintentionally. So 2 concrete tools are vital here. First, a formal commissioning.
Like a public ceremony.
Yes, a public event or announcement. It formally blesses the successor, clearly names their new authority, defines their scope, their remit. It signals to everyone, this is the leader now.
Okay, that makes sense. And the second tool?
The transition covenant. This is huge. It's a written agreement, could be formal or relational, that explicitly defines the departing leader's new limited role. Are they a mentor, a consultant on specific projects, a board member?
And crucially,
It sets clear boundaries on how and when they can get re-involved. It protects the successor by preventing the old leader from stepping back over the line into operational control. It stops the ghost.
wow, that's thorough. And you mentioned an evaluation rubric tying this all together.
Yes, absolutely critical. You need an objective way to know when someone is ready to move from assist to watch or watch to leave. The rubric assesses progress across key areas, things like spiritual formation or character maturity, relational skills, operational competence, and even reproducibility, their potential to develop others.
So it provides milestones.
Concrete milestones. It takes the guesswork out and tells you, objectively, if they're ready for more autonomy for the next phase.
Okay, this is a comprehensive roadmap. But even with the best intentions, things go wrong. We should probably warn people about the common pitfalls.
Definitely. There are 3 big ones that consistently derail these transitions, even when people try to use a framework like MAWL.
What's the first one?
Hoarding. Simple as that.
Hmm.
The leader just can't let go.
Fear, ego, control.
All of the above. Fear of irrelevance, ego tied up in the role, maybe a genuine but misguided belief that nobody else can really do it right. You see symptoms like constant micromanagement, delegating only trivial tasks, always finding reasons why potential successors are just not quite ready yet.
How do you counter that? If you're the leader doing the hoarding.
It often requires a deep shift in perspective, cultivating that theology of stewardship we talked about. Realizing your ultimate contribution might actually be the successful handover, not just holding on to the reins forever. Seeing the mission as bigger than yourself.
Okay, pitfall number 2.
Premature release. The opposite problem. Pushing someone into the lead role before they're actually ready. Before the formation is deep enough or the skills are solid.
Why would that happen?
Often external pressures. An organizational deadline, maybe budget cuts forcing a consolidation. Sometimes the departing leader is just eager to leave. But the result is setting the successor up to fail, which is frankly irresponsible.
And the cost is huge. Burnout for the new leader, damage to the mission.
Catastrophic, often. The counter here is discipline. You must use those objective competency milestones from the rubric, not arbitrary dates on a calendar, to decide readiness. If they're not ready, according to the assessment, you stay in assist or watch. Period.
Hold the line, even under pressure. Got it.
Okay.
And the third pitfall,
This one's subtle. Mimicry without formation.
mimicry without formation. What's that?
It's the apprentice who's really good at copying the external behaviors of the leader. They talk the talk, they adopt the style, maybe they're charismatic, they look the part. But the internal transformation hasn't happened. The character isn't there. The humility, the teachability, the integrity under pressure, it's shallow. They've learned the techniques, but not the substance.
So they look great on the surface.
But they can shatter when real adversity hits. It's fragile leadership.
How do you guard against that? It seems hard to spot.
You have to intentionally centralize character assessment throughout the entire MAWL process. Spiritual and relational integrity, how do they handle correction? Are they consistent? How are their key relationships? Are they financially responsible? These can't be secondary concerns. They have to be non-negotiable gateways for increased authority.
Okay. Hoarding, premature release. Mimicry without formation. Good warnings. So for someone listening who thinks, okay, I want to try this, what's a rough timeline or roadmap?
Generally, you're looking at about a 12 to 18-month cycle per person, obviously depending on the role's complexity.
And it starts before model.
Yeah, there's really a phase 0 foundation. This is where leadership clarifies its own understanding, its theology of stewardship, and identifies maybe 3 to 6 potential leaders to invest in.
Then phase 1, model.
That's about setting up shadowing schedules, regular observation, and those crucial weekly reflective debriefs, making the leader's life visible.
Phase 2, assist.
Assigning real co-leading responsibilities, maybe running skills clinics, and yes, sometimes designing intentional, safe-to-fail learning experiences.
Phase 3, watch.
Giving solo assignments, but with that close oversight, really using the evaluation rubric here to track progress and provide feedback.
And phase 4, leave.
That's executing the formal commissioning, signing off on succession documents, finalizing that transition covenant we talked about, and probably scheduling post-handover reviews.
Got it. A clear progression.
And the payoff for following this disciplined process, it's significant. Success isn't just measured by whether the new leader keeps the lights on.
Right. What are the real metrics?
2 key things. First, reproducibility. Are the leaders you develop using MAWL now going on to develop other leaders in the same intentional way? That Timothy 2.2 principle, entrusting to faithful people who will teach others also. That's multiplication.
And the second metric?
Stability. Is the ministry, the organization, the team actually sustainable and healthy, maybe even growing, long after the handover? Does it thrive beyond the personality of the original leader? That's the ultimate test. The whole point is moving from just adding leaders one by one to genuinely multiplying leadership capacity exponentially, building something truly resilient.
So this MAWL cycle, it really aims to transform leadership development, taking it from, I don't know, a managerial task or a checklist into something more deliberate, almost like a sacred economy of transfer, you could say. Building organizations, communities, missions that can genuinely outlast individual personalities.
Beautifully put, a sacred economy of transfer. Because true leadership, at its best, multiplies itself. It creates a chorus, not just a solo performance. So maybe the thought to leave people with is this. What would actually fundamentally shift in your context, your business, your church, your team, if you had a clear, reliable process? If you knew exactly how to hand over leadership, not just once, but potentially over and over, without that constant fear of collapse or dependency, without worrying about becoming that ghost in the machine?
That's a powerful question. And maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Perhaps the truest measure of your leadership isn't actually how many people follow you right now. Maybe it's about how many people will eventually lead because of the investment you made in them. So the question becomes, are you prepared to lead in such a way that ultimately your own leadership becomes, well, unnecessary?